Good morning, everyone. I'm rebooting this episode. It's a very brief one from 2022, where it shows there's a chink in the armor of the Pauline church, where someone like Graham Cooke, who teaches at a church that believes in Paul, teaches on his messages and so on, he himself bravely said, basically, Paul does not take precedence over Jesus. We cannot use epistles to cancel Jesus. Yet I wanted you to know he is in the normative church, and he has online lists of all these kind of videos. Most of them look apparently, not leading you down the wrong path of salvation or anything like that. But he seems to have a wholesome approach to his messages so that they're never going to transgress Jesus's words. I'm assuming, though, I haven't watched any of his videos, to be honest, other than this one. So back in 2022, someone gave me this clip that we're going to look at here. Here's the transcription of it, and it makes a lot of important statements that show I think, a monumental shift in current Pauline Christianity, where they're at least willing now to say that Jesus comes ahead of Paul, and interpretations should always follow what Jesus says and not follow Paul, basically. Don't construe it any other way, is what he's also saying. So listen to this first opening part. A false teacher is someone who misrepresents the language of the epistles in order to overrule the language of Jesus in the Gospels. Now, I can just give you a perfect example. Mark 9, verse 42 to 47. Jesus says you can go to heaven maimed by cutting off body parts and snaring you in sin by repenting, or you can go to hell whole. It's your choice. So there's free will, there's repentance by actual reformation, all the things that Paul teaches against in Ephesians 2, 8 to 9. I'm going to assume that he's going to find a way that Paul doesn't contradict Jesus, okay? If you can do that, great, because now at least people are being saved because they're listening to Jesus. And that's what he's doing. He's trying to get back to Jesus one way or the other. He says this: I kind of think that Jesus takes precedence over Paul, and to believe the opposite of that is not to be Bible believing. So if you don't give Jesus priority, you don't make him your king, you are not a Bible believing person. You think you are, but you aren't. And Jesus says the same thing in John 13, verse 16, but we're never allowed to see it because the words are hidden there. But it says the messenger, it actually says apostle, the one who is sent. It says apostle. The apostle is not greater than the one who sent him. Those are the words of Jesus you're never allowed to hear. The apostle is not greater than the one who sent him. It's the reverse. The master is always greater than the servant or the apostle. All right, so here we go. I'm going to play his clip.
A false teacher is someone who misrepresents the language of the epistles in order to overrule the language of Jesus in the Gospels. I kind of think that Jesus takes precedence over Paul. And to believe the opposite of that is not to be Bible believing. Jesus came saying, you have heard it said, but now I say. He came from heaven to teach us the mindset of heaven, the perceptions of heaven, the language of heaven. All he talked about was his Father who is in heaven. He taught us to pray from heaven to earth. And he opens up our whole personality to understand that now you are in this world, you are not of it, but now you belong to this other realm that I belong to. And we're going to teach you that language, that perception, because your destiny here on earth is to be a citizen of heaven.
So I'm going to assume he's going to teach John 8, verses 31, all the way to verse 35 down here. Let me just read this for you. Then said Jesus to those Jews who believed on him, if you continue in my word, then are you my disciples indeed. Jesus is asking these believers in him, now you have to continue my word further. You started well. Now you have to obey, learn my words, and become a disciple. And Jesus says in verse 32, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. So something about the disciple of Jesus is going to help them stop doing something, you'll see. And when they do that, they can become a son in the house forever. But until they do that, they're a slave of what Jesus is going to tell them is their sin life. But let me go one step at a time. Verse 33, they answered him, we be Abraham's seed, and were never in bondage to any man. Who says you shall be made free? John 8:34, Amplified Bible. What it's amplifying is the verb tense here, and that's what's missing in a lot of English tense translations. Verse 34, Jesus answered, I assure you and most solemnly say to you, everyone who practices sin habitually is a slave of sin. That's the verb tense in Greek. It's a message of something that is continuing, ongoing action. So that's what he means when he says you're a slave. Whoever's a slave, You may be in the physical house, but you will not be there forever. You have to become a son. You have to be born again. That's what he's talking about. But it's not by simply a magic wand of saying some words of faith. No, it's by becoming his disciple. These believers did not want to become disciples. They did not want to reform. And you're going to see, well, Jesus tells them in 8:35, and a slave does not abide in the house forever. So if you stay a slave of sin, you may be in the physical house of God, but you will not be in that house forever. But a son, that is someone who's truly born again, will be in the house forever. But that means you have to become free of sin, at least once in your life for a particular time, that then Jesus can say, okay, you've become my disciple, you've succeeded. Now you're on that road where you have to make sure it's not habitual sin anymore. It's no practicing of sin anymore. That is, sin life is dead in you. That's the born again experience, not what you've been told or given a bunch of jelly beans that are sweet and easy. No, this is Jesus giving you hard things. Now, I just want to show you what happened to these believers. What happened? They didn't want to do what he said. All right, so now let's see how these believers in Jesus who refuse to become disciples end up. Verse 36, if the Son, Jesus speaks to them, therefore shall make you free, you shall be free indeed. What was the program? Discipleship, not faith. The faith was done. This is discipleship. This is where it gets serious. This is where it costs you something. This is where it is the pedal goes to the metal. You've got to press that pedal down and start moving in this different direction. They don't want to do that. Verse 37, I know that you are Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me because my word has no place in you. So when Jesus asks you to do something and it's costly and it's actually going to require you to basically do something, and you're going to sneer at Jesus and tell him, oh, that's works, that's earning salvation. Paul tells me that's wrong. I'll end up boasting and sinning. You're just sending me down the pathway of hell, Jesus. That's what people tell me. When I tell them what Jesus says, they go, no, you're giving me a message that's wrong. It's contrary to Paul. But this message of Mr. Cooke is telling you, get back on the right path. Don't follow this lie. Now listen to Jesus call everything they're believing a lie about what is causing them to reject him. Verse 38, I speak that which I've seen with my father, and you do that which you have seen with your father. Verse 39, they answered and said, Abraham is our father. Jesus said unto them, if you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that has told you the truth, which I have heard of God. This did not Abraham do. Verse 41, you do the deeds of your father. Then they said to him, we be not born of fornication. We have one father, even God. Verse 42, Jesus said unto them, if God were your father, you would love me. For I proceeded forth and came from God. Neither came I of myself, but he sent me. I want to point out, Mr. Cooke is appealing to your desire to love Jesus Christ. That's the one who God sent him, and God expects you to love the Lord Jesus, but you're not when you disobey Christ and you follow some other voice who's contrary, completely at odds with him. That something's obvious. And even your pastors will tell you, well, Jesus didn't understand the gospel. Paul had to come later. Hey, when Jesus ascended, Paul comes allegedly 1 year later. Did you ever do the math? Okay. He ascends around 32 AD. Paul comes around 32, 33, 34 AD. Why couldn't Jesus have told the apostles, hey, there's going to guy come who's going to be superior to all of you 12 and all me too? Why didn't he warn them? See, it doesn't make sense, ladies and gentlemen. There's some piece that's not fitting in this puzzle piece that you're listening to. Verse 43, why do you not understand my speech, even because you cannot hear my word? When I talk to people and I say, hey, this is what Jesus said in Mark 9, verse 42 to 47, do you still believe it? Do you believe it's true? They won't answer me directly. They'll evade it. They'll go sideways. They'll give me other explanations. They'll try to cite other principles about, can't earn your salvation. Our righteousness is for filthy rags. You know what? Didn't Jesus say these men have to become disciples and will be free of sin? So what do you think? Is Paul right that you can never get to a point of righteousness? That when Luke says that Elizabeth and her husband were righteous and all their lives had not even sinned and obeyed all the commandments, the parents of John the Baptist, do you think he was lying to you? Or did he have the same understanding that Jesus did, that becoming free of sin is actually what you're supposed to do and not be afraid of it and not think, oh my gosh, I'm going to go to hell if I try to do that? That's what Paul created. And that is, what do you think is going to be the answer to people who believe just like you are thinking, and why you're rejecting the message of Jesus if you are? He says, Jesus point blank says that you are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. That's why you're holding on. You don't realize it. You're not sons of God. You're sons of the devil. The devil is the one who created all these false doctrines that Paul promoted. And don't ask why. You don't have to know why he did it. It's a test from God. God says, I allow false prophets who come with signs and wonders, miracles, true prophecy. This is in Deuteronomy 13, 1-10, by the way. They come with signs and wonders and true prophecy that comes to pass. But don't believe them if they turn you away from my word, my law. That is the sign of a false prophet who is apostate. Do not follow them. And Jesus says right here, that attitude is refusing to listen to him, and they're sons of the father, the devil. And then he says, when the devil speaks a lie, he speaks of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So all you need to know is Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. And the way means a path of discipleship to become free of sin. And it isn't magically done for you by God. It's a requirement, and Jesus made it clear it's not going to be an easy peasy thing. He could have said to them, hey, why are you getting so upset? I'm not requiring you to do anything. Your faith is going to save you automatically. It's like a predestined situation. That's not how Jesus handled this at all. That's how Paul might have handled it. Nothing to worry about with these guys. They're believers. They're okay. No, Jesus is saying this is a key moment in their lives, and they refused the invitation and the requirement to become disciples. So Mr. Cooke is helping us get on the right ground, and I trust and I hope his messages are consistent with what I told you. But anyway, it's a fantastic moment when you see mainline preachers, mainline voices now suddenly emerging that are telling you the truth. Follow Jesus, follow his words. He'll lead you into heaven, and learn that vocabulary. And that's the destiny we should be on, but you can voluntarily take yourself off the correct destiny. That's what Jesus teaches us here. Believers in him took themselves off the right destiny, and they said, we're not going to do that. We're sons of the father Abraham. We don't need you, Jesus. Goodbye. And he said, okay, here's your consequence. You're sons of the father, of your father, the devil. All right, God bless everybody. Take care. Ciao. Bye.